May God's blessing be upon the reading of His word. Well, anyway, well, it's very obvious. It says Job. And of course, we found this in the book of Job, chapter, as I said, 11, 17 to 20. Well, if you are going to study this particular passage of the Bible, it's really, it really brings so much hope to us. Okay? Well, at this point, we talk about the virus, the COVID-19 today, right? And actually, the reason why it's called pandemic, it's because, present worldwide, the world is infected, not just one country. If only one country, it's called not pandemic, but it's called in a different way. But the reason why it's called pandemic because all countries in the world are affected. Only North Korea doesn't divulge anything about the infection that is happening in their country. But of course, a lot of news in internet are saying that many people are infected in North Korea as well. But of course, since the information is being secured by the Korean government, so nobody knows from the outside world, right? But of course, that sounds funny because even at the farthest country in Africa, a lot of people are getting infected with the virus. South America is very far from China, and yet a lot of people are being infected with the virus. In the Philippines, well, it's very sad that we are the 22nd country in the whole world that have a lot of infections. Imagine, out of more than 200 countries, we are 22nd now. So that is so sad. If you are always reading news concerning what is happening in the Philippines, especially about this particular pandemic, about this disease, it's kind of very frustrating. Even if you're not there, you're not witnessing physically, personally of what is going on. When you hear and when you read the news, especially I have Twitter account, I'm always updated of the news regarding what's happening in the Philippines. And it's so sad. It's very unfortunate that we have that kind of, numbers of infection nowadays. We are very fortunate here in Japan. Why? Because the government is doing really well to combat this particular disease. Although, a number of infections are still increasing, but of course, it's way far compared to what is happening in the Philippines. So I think we need to pray for our country, for the Philippines, regarding this particular problem. But anyway, and I read also in the news that a number of suicide incidents in the Philippines are increasing. Well, there are so many reasons. Number one is because of the lockdown. Imagine, of all the countries in the world, Philippines has imposed the longest lockdown. We are number one when it comes to lockdown. So, well, Japan hasn't done any lockdown, right? Abe-san just, informed the citizens of a state of emergency, but no lockdown, right? But yet, the government has handled the problem so well, okay? In some other countries as well, but not in the Philippines. And so the suicide rates in the Philippines nowadays is coming up because of that. Lockdown, you have no job, you have no food to eat, and of course it's a general knowledge that a lot of Filipino people are living in poverty. So I'm not ashamed to tell you that to our Japanese friends. More than 70% of Filipino population are living in poverty. 20% are living in middle class, and only 10% living as rich. So 70%, imagine that. You don't know where to get foods, you don't know where to get medicines for your sick relatives, parents, your children, your wife, your spouse. What can you do? And that's why a government official is shocked knowing that a number of suicide cases is increasing in the Philippines. Well, those news really brings up so much frustration, distress, and it's like something like tiring if you are reading that. But anyway, as I said, Filipinos living abroad, especially in wealthy countries like Japan, America, they are so fortunate because they haven't experienced that, and of course they have money to send back to the Philippines to the relatives in the Philippines. But anyway, yes,